Hello and welcome back to Insights and Inspirations brought to you by Finally Spoken. I'm Dee and I'm here to bring you a dose of positivity. Life is not a battle, it is a game. This is stated by Florence Scovel Shin in the book The Game of Life and How to Play It. On the very first chapter, Florence Scovel Shin described how life is a game and not a battle. Florence is an American writer who wrote about spirituality and the metaphysical things. The book was first published in the year 1925. And so there are aspects of that book that for me personally feels outdated. I am not completely sold to all the ideas of the book, but here are some points that somehow make sense to me one way or another. The statement that life is not a battle rather than it's a game. And to a certain extent, I do agree. At first, I was baffled by the statement, so I went on my computer and searched for the meaning battle. And the computer defines it as a general contest between armies or an extended contest or an extended struggle, whereas the word game is defined by Merriam-Webster as a sort of competition with a set of rules. And that's just how life is. For me, it's not a constant struggle of survival, but rather an interplay between periods of troubled and quiet and a burst of activity here and there. Even in the most troubled areas of the world, a positive person could always point a sense of serenity. She points out that a set of rules to play the game is in the Bible. If you're done listening to the audio, it's very Christian centric. But if you delve in further on the lessons that you realize, it goes beyond culture and religion. Something more universal is being taught in the book. So if you haven't delved in or listened to the audiobook, there's a link in this video for the whole audiobook of the Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel Shin. Take what's good, take what's going to help you, and move on with it. In the book as well, Florence constantly reiterates that the grace of the divine and how it is sufficient to supply us with what we need not only to survive but also to thrive. She said that we could manifest the good things and even bring forth bad things through our thoughts. Well, I don't believe that all things good could just be manifested into existence. Like, I can't just manifest a certain amount of money in my bank account the very next day, or a Tesla into existence in my driveway, even if I constantly meditate on it. But it sure sounds nice to think that the world might just be one big wishing machine. As it does though, it's not. It doesn't work that way. Life is an interplay between God's grace and our choices, and how we use our abilities that the divine has bestowed upon us to navigate through life. If you choose to work on gaining certain habits like losing weight or seeing that amount of money in your bank account that you've been trying to manifest, you align your actions into gaining that, then you can bring it forth to existence, what you greatly desire. Furthermore, Florence Scovel Shin states that the imaging faculty, what we have in our head, leads us through the path in life. She says, "Keep thy heart or imagination with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. What man images, sooner or later externalizes in his affairs." We must train the imaging faculty into thinking of good or into seeing good, so that brings forth this righteous desire in our heart. Although I'm not completely sold with the fact that constantly reiterating an idea within our head would eventually make it manifest, Like, for instance, the disease process in itself is more complicated than that. What she states as disease being manifested because you constantly think about it, I think the disease process is more complicated than that. It is noticeable, though, that a person who practices this sort of kindness and compassion and seeing the good in every situation would receive news of the disease or bad events rather graciously than their other counterparts. A person who has trained his thoughts into looking at the good in every situation would certainly see a glimmer of hope in the darkness of times. So, no, I don't completely agree that if you constantly think of bad things will happen. I'd rather believe in a notion that training our minds to see blessings and the greater good, because we can't completely eliminate bad thoughts or bad things from happening. I can't just wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to be kind, I'm going to be good this day, but somebody else decides on his own will that he's going to approach me badly, then bad things will happen to me. So I say this, we can never control what other people do to us. We can never control the choices that they made that day and how it will affect us. But what we can control is the way we respond to it. And then, in line with that, is the notion of what Florence Scovel Shin. You take the training to manifest into your mind good thoughts. And I think if you're trained to see the good in every situation, it's a work in progress. It doesn't happen right away. And admittedly, some situations are harder to see good. But trust that if you lift your hands to the divine and think of good, think of kindness, then more often that's what you would manifest into your life. That's what you would attract. If you're a good energy comes to you. And even if bad ones will come to you, you would know how to handle it. So let's train our minds and our thoughts to see the good in every situation, to always practice compassion and kindness towards ourselves, and it will externalize as kindness and compassion towards others. I'm Dee, and that's your dose of positivity.